I envy him at his age is able to look after goats. It's not like what kids in big towns like Nairobi or Mombasa would be doing, but him is hard enough to be able to look after goats. We are in the homestead of an old man called Mr. Munuve, and we are in Kitui County. We are in Kitui County, and the sub county is called Mwingi West. Kitui is a very big county with about 1 million people living here, and they are not that they are sparsely populated because they live long distances from each other. We don't have so many people here. Though we have 1 million people, but the land is huge. In a kilometer, you might find less than 10 homesteads. So that is really, it means that we have a lot of land that is not habited. So Kitui County is an arid area, very arid as the day can show. It's very hot sometimes. Most of the year it's a very, very hot county. And where we are now in Mwingi West, we are in a ward that is a smaller division called Kiome Dhana, and this homestead of Mr. Munuve. We visited them, and they are really nice people. Since morning we've been here with them. They've given us some breakfast and also lunch, and more than that, we've had some porridge here. It's a family of the old man told me that he has 2 wives. Yeah, and one of the daughters-in-law is living here, and unfortunately the son died, so he was left with a daughter-in-law who has got 4 kids. 3 are living here with him, and one is grown up, just finished his studies at the university, a university called Chuka University, and he was lucky enough to get some job around in central Kenya. It's a very interesting story about this family, because up to 1966 nobody owned this land since it was created by God. Nobody owned it, so the old man, Mr. Munuve, was a young man. He was exploring this land, and he came walking around, and he found a land that nobody owned, and he decided to fence it off, and it became his land in 1966. So since then the family has lived here, and when he told me his very interesting story, that when he came here, he came alone, built a small house, and later on he went for his young family. They came and settled in this land in around 1966, towards the end of the year, and they started accumulating their wealth, and he had many cows, slowly building up to a time that he could not keep any more goats. Actually, what he told me is that the air started changing, and he was not receiving enough rains. There was not enough pasture, that is food for his cattle, and with the time, times became really very hard, and he could not manage anymore to keep cattle, because they kept dying slowly by slowly, because there was not enough food for the livestock. So with the time he had to change, and he said, okay, I can't continue keeping livestock, and he started keeping small livestock like goats and sheep, and that is what he is doing now. And apart from that, he looked at his situation and said, okay, I will not keep livestock only, I will start doing some farming. So after he started doing some farming of millet, sorghum, he was doing some dolichos, and times also became hard for him, because he was not able to harvest as much as he could harvest before, because he's saying that the air started changing, and it was becoming hotter and hotter, and rains were failing all the times. He used to do some maize, but he realized that he could not plant maize anymore. So he had to start changing into drought resistant crops, and that is what he's doing now. I'm John Mungo. I work for FAO and I'm the county program officer. This means that I'm here to take care of the interests of FAO, that is Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, and I take care of the interests in the county. So in 2015 we came here, and we came here with a huge project, and this project is a conservation agriculture project. Actually, we call it increased productivity and profitability of small-scale farmers through application of technologies like good agricultural technologies. And one of them that we try to amplify is climate smart agriculture, and we do conservation agriculture. And this conservation agriculture means that farmers have to do minimum tillage. Their farms have always to be covered with a cover crop, and also we encourage them to do crop rotation on top of all the other good agricultural practices. So one of the things that we train them is, one, to plant early. Always plant early, because we have 2 seasons here of rains. We have a season that starts from March, April to May. Then in June and July they are harvesting. The other season starts from October, November and December. That is the season that we're expecting in a month's time. And in January and February they are harvesting. So we told them the best thing you could do for yourself, if you want to keep on having enough food, one, you have to change your ways of farming. And of course we had to talk to them and explain to them what is happening to the weather. And we told them, look, let us change to drought resistant crops. Some of the drought resistant crops one is sorghum, millet. We also encourage them to grow dolichos. This dolichos is the crop that is a creeping crop, and it has bigger leaves, so it is able to cover the soils. So we encourage farmers to cover their soils all the times with crops like dolichos, as you saw in the morning, and that is what they are growing at the moment. So other good agricultural practices that we are training them is about IPM. That is integrated pest management. This means nothing but scouting their farms to see whether there are insects, and if they have insects, they can use many other ways of avoiding the insects. I'm using the word avoiding, or to making them move out of the farms, because we do not want to encourage farmers to use a lot of chemicals in their farms. So some of the things that they use, they are very traditional ways of removing insects from their crop. Like they can use ash from wood. When you burn charcoal, what remains is ash, and this ash they sprinkle it on their crop, and the insects, some of the insects like aphids, would just go or would just be killed. So those are some of the things that we encourage farmers, very simple technologies. So this is part of the conservation agriculture. In conservation agriculture, we encourage farmers to do minimum soil disturbance, because there before in the 60s and 50s, farmers here were not used to using plows. But with the time, technology came, and plows, everybody thought it was cool to use plows, and disc plow. And the disc plows, with the time, we realized that they were causing a lot of soil disturbance, because the moment a disc, whether it is used on it is tractor drawn or animal drawn, the moment you turn the soil, this heat, the sun heat, takes the moisture that is from down, comes up, and the moisture is taken through evaporation. So the moisture is not there anymore. So we are telling the farmers, what you are doing is do trenches only where you are going to plant, and leave the rest of the land without being disturbed. Our farmers here, they've adopted conservation agriculture as a way of farming, because they saw that it was an easy way of doing it, of farming. So our farmers, like this group has got about 30 farmers, and 3/4 of them have adopted to conservation agriculture, because they're saying that though other farms around, when it doesn't rain, they're not harvesting, but then they're able to harvest. The last time we had good rains in this county was March, April, May in 20. Actually, that was in 2015. October, November, December. Rains in 2015 is when we had good rains. The whole of last year, we did not have good rains. So most farmers were not able to harvest, but our farmers who are practicing conservation agriculture, they were able to harvest. Yeah, so that is something that they are really liking, and we heard it from the farmer that even though other farmers were not able to harvest, then they were able to harvest. The long-term vision of Kitui counties in general is value addition in agribusiness. We are having a lot of produce, like farmers that we've been working with in conservation agriculture. These are farmers who are producing sorghum. They're doing millet. They're doing a lot of some fruit, like also mangoes. So we're encouraging farmers to start adding value to their produce. And the value addition can be at two levels. It can be primary. Primary processing means just sorting and grading and packaging, like green grams. You don't need to do a lot with green grams. You sort, you package, and you label, and you can find your green grams in supermarkets. Things like mangoes, you need to do some sort of transformation, like transforming the mangoes into some other product. Drying the mangoes is a way that we are going. Farmers would fetch more money from dried mangoes than raw mangoes. It is a big challenge when it comes to value addition. The other challenge is now the linkage between the marketing, that is the buyers, and the processors. But I'm sure when farmers are able to value add their produce, of course, it should be driven by the market, and the market is there looking for the produce. So the biggest challenge for me is the investment. What farmers would invest in it to be able to link themselves to the market. So I was born in Kitui County, in the eastern part of Kitui, a place called Zombe. And I would say I grew up typically in such an environment. It was always hot, sometimes cold. And we had no enough food. I come from a family of about 12 children, 2 mothers and 1 dad. So it was not easy bringing all of us. I remember when we were growing up, we did not have a lot of some food. Like I didn't grow up eating bread and butter through the year, from January to December. Bananas, we had bananas from January to December. Our cattle would have some water ponds that had water throughout the year, but it's not anymore. We do not have the river bed as completely dried. You have to scoop the sand about 2 feet, or between 2 feet and 8 feet, to get water. So things have really changed. Then you could only scoop like 1 foot, and there you have water. Now the riverbed has dried. We do not have any more sugarcane because there is no moisture to sustain the sugarcane. And also our livestock have got to move long distances looking for water, because things have really changed. Though I lived in the village with my mom, my dad was working at Nakuru, and I would meet my dad once in a while. Like when we close schools, we go to Nakuru, or he would also take leave and come stay with us. So I grew up without my dad, but he was not like away. He was not an absent. He was an absent because of work, but he was there for us. He would send money. So my dad made a strategic decision that we must go to school, we must be educated, and that brought real change.